In this town, there's no off-season. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
Oh, back for another special edition of It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. They're all special, let's be honest. I mean, Oprah's kind of jealous about all the shows that we've done lately, but that's okay. She makes a lot more money than we do to make these shows. He's Daryl Ryder. I am Andy Baskin. Evan O'Brien is our producer, and the show is called It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. We are glad you are on board on the Odyssey app, or you're watching us on YouTube, where we discuss the latest and greatest on what's going on with the Cleveland Browns, who are currently intertwined in Indianapolis as they get in depth and try to figure out what kind of players they'd like to select at the upcoming NFL draft with the NFL Combine. We are brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, let's start with the Combine. Kevin Stefanski spoke today. What did we learn?
One, that he's a lot higher on these quarterbacks that are coming out than I think the national media is. That's for sure. I found his comments about the quality of this class to be somewhat interesting. He basically said, I don't know where this narrative has come from, but he really likes a lot of these kids, including obviously the top guys that we have been debating and focused on, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I think that there's some developments around the league that could influence the Browns' ability to have the option to take either one of those players. But I think that for me, that was the biggest news to come out of besides the fact that I think that travel budgeters around the greater Cleveland area are now celebrating we do not have to go back to the Greenbrier this year.
Oh, is it over? Is it official? I mean, or is that now? I'm asking this: was this a byproduct of the NFLPA report card that came out today? Because they said that travel was one of them, and the question was, because Jeff and I were debating this today. The Browns didn't fare well on that. I think did they get a D or a C or something on that? Do you remember?
I have the report card for us to comb through.
Yeah, I want to go through that later. But you say this about travel and not going to the Greenbrier.
Travel was a D, ranked.
Yeah, and is that because they had to go to the Greenbrier for a week?
I think that's it wasn't a week. It was like 10 days. I think that's a big part of it. Like, I know last year players weren't crazy about the experience, not from like anything the team did, but just from like the accommodations. Like the Greenbrier it's not exactly a modern hotel and resort.
And that was my point with Jeff. I'm like, travel is travel in the NFL. It's nothing compared to the other sports, especially compared to baseball. Yeah. Baseball, you set up camp in a town for 3 days and then you go somewhere else. And NBA, you're in there for one night and you barely even know where you are, and then you're out of there before you can say hello. And for the NFL, these NFL trips, there's only 8 of them at the most, or 9. And you fly in on Friday, you sleep there, you have meetings, you eat, you sleep, you play. There isn't a whole lot you're not going sightseeing when you go on these trips.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you can carve out an hour to meet your family in the lobby, if you're a player.
Yeah. So, but yeah, not going back to the Greenbrier. So we are all celebrating that news.
So was this all
piece of news?
Yeah, because none of this came out in the press conference. What came? Let me backtrack just a little bit. What came out of the sidebar then? That obviously came out of the sidebar.
Those two things came out of the sidebar.
So no Greenbrier this year.
Yep.
And what was the other one you said?
They love Stefanski loves these quarterbacks.
Oh, he loves these quarterbacks. Now, is that a smoke show?
I don't think so.
Is it an Oklahoma smoke show? I love that song, by the way.
I just thought, let's put it this way. It could be because, Kevin doesn't like to say anything about anything.
No, he didn't say anything.
Well, no.
He said nothing in his press conference. He listed 3 reasons what he looks for in a quarterback. I thought that was interesting. And then Jeff brought up something else that he thought was interesting. But, there wasn't a whole lot to digest from the media that he did with general media.
Yeah. So, I thought there's some other, I think, outstanding issues. I think that they're going to have to resolve here. Myles Garrett's at the top of the list. Kevin obviously reiterated what Andrew Berry said on Tuesday, right? He's not going anywhere. We're not trading him. He's a part of our future. He's a part of our present. We'll see if that ultimately happens because I think Myles Garrett is saying, yeah, no, I'm not. But Yeah, there wasn't a lot that came out of the general media availability at the podium. He was asked a variety of things, but yeah, the quarterback stuff is what really stood out to me and caught my attention the most. And probably,
Is there a quarterback you think he's leaning towards based on what he said?
I kind of think there is.
Well, fire away. What do you think it is?
I think it's Shedeur Sanders.
So that was kind of the feeling we had going into this thing, but then you had to wonder, is that the Browns trying to make Shedeur Sanders or have everybody think they're going to draft him at 2?
No, and that could be part of the game. Like,
yeah,
this is the time of year, as I always like to say, Andy, you listen to everything and you believe none of it.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
What I'm saying? But look, I mean, he went pretty in depth as to why he likes this quarterback class and doesn't feel like that they're as maligned as they have been perceived to be in the national media. He thinks that the talent is there. He thinks the decision-making is there with a lot of these guys. He thinks the off-the-field intangible stuff is there. It was interesting. He did mention that they met with Shedeur Sanders. They met with Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe. He, again, usually is not forthcoming with that type of information, right? Normally he's like, I don't want to get into the specifics of anything. We are meeting with players here, but the fact that he acknowledged and revealed, like, it wasn't like, hey, did you meet with Shedeur? Like, what I'm saying? Like, he volunteered that he's met with these guys. And that is a little different than what we're used to hearing from Kevin. Usually he's a little more close to the vest type thing. And so I'm not saying that's a smokescreen, but clearly the organization does not mind that information being out there, if that makes sense.
So I also think it's interesting that I think both yesterday with Andrew Berry and with Kevin Stefanski, they're very comfortable in talking about moving forward with another quarterback this year. Like, they feel, but I mean, Deshaun's still under contract, and it's not like they're saying, well, we want to see what happens with Deshaun. We all know he's hurt. We all know he's going to be out for a little bit of time, but they make it sound, and they're doubling down a little bit, basically, on he will be out significant time, probably will not play at all this year.
He's not available this year.
But have they actually said he's not available this year?
Read between the lines. Yes, they have. Have they actually said it specifically? No, but read between the lines.
They're super comfortable talking about moving forward and drafting a quarterback and moving in a different direction.
Since you bring up the Deshaun thing, also very interesting. They wanted it known that Deshaun is doing his rehab in Cleveland now.
Yeah, I heard you say that on the afternoon show. What's the difference if he's rehabbing here or rehabbing somewhere else?
Well, he retore the Achilles somewhere else.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there's no one saying, "Hey, you have to."
I think it's a supervisory thing. I'm not trying to go conspiracy theory here, but
they want to supervise what he's doing. That's what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though is I find it interesting that they really stress that today. That Deshaun is rehabbing at the facility. That they are really involved in his rehab process. I just find that to be interesting, considering. The first time he had the surgery, he was basically traveling the globe.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying.
Well, I mean, look, but if they've already moved on from him mentally, what's the difference if he's here or not? That's my question. If they've moved on from him and they're committed to the fact that they're either going to draft a quarterback at 2 that could be the starter this year and could be a starter for a long time, or they're going to bring in another free agent and then draft another quarterback who'll have the opportunity to be here for a while.
I think the only way I can answer that without potentially getting myself into trouble is I'm just going to say procedure.
Okay.
Procedural move. Is that fair?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, don't you think the questions I'm asking are fair? Who cares?
No, your questions are fair, but you just have to be delicate in how I answer them, because I don't want to speculate and infer things.
And I'm not. I hope I didn't.
No, I just. Curious. I mean, I have my own thoughts and my own theories and my own opinions, but I don't think it's really fair for me to express them because, I don't have factual basis for those. These are just, my own thoughts.
Okay, I got you.
You see what I'm saying? I don't want
100%.
I don't want to be putting stuff out there unfairly, regarding the situation that, might not be accurate my opinion
Gotcha.
may not be accurate. So,
all right, let's do this. Let's come back. Let's talk about those NFLPA grades that came out today as well about the Browns. A little bit more on what Kevin Stefanski, what more we're looking at, and what we're talking about from the NFL Combine. And Daryl, I have amazing news. I am so happy about something that was said in Indianapolis today.
Okay.
It absolutely made my day. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, and we are brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, I want to talk about a couple things. One that makes me very, very happy. We are going to electronic down markers. Yes, electronics. We're never going to mess up any more of these first downs. You can bow your head. You can cry. You can, and moan. I don't want to hear it from you. Let's get it right. We've got the technology.
They've been getting it right. It hasn't been a problem.
What are you talking? Did you watch the playoffs?
The chain gang is not a problem.
Did you watch the playoffs?
The chain gang is not a problem.
I'm not. The chain gang isn't the problem. The spotting of the ball by the officials is. It's random. It's like, I'm going to spot it here. Yeah, I think come on.
Yeah, that's not the chain gang. You're rejoicing over the chain gang eventually being replaced and not the actual problem. And that's the officials don't know how to spot footballs.
There you go. So, and by the way, I still think they're going to need someone to mark a first down and someone to mark the down itself.
Yeah,
that's not going to change. So all we're doing is eliminating the chain.
Yeah,
that's
the
all we
chain
need to do.
Exactly 10 yards in length. Remember, they used to take like pieces of cardboard out, the little
Daryl, they can take pictures of my innards, and I'm telling you, they have the technology to do that.
I really don't need to hear about pictures of your innards.
Well, I'm just saying, if they can do that, they can measure 10 yards on a first down.
I know. They just, here you go. Let's see. Did he make it?
Daryl, did you not watch the playoffs this year?
I did.
Okay.
The problem was with
all
the
controversy. Was that a good spot? No, that wasn't a good spot.
Right. Well, if this is going to fix the spotting of the football, that's completely different from the actual execution of measuring whether or not they got the full 10 yards for a first down.
They still need the markers, though. I'm saying they just don't need the chain.
All right. If you say so.
Well, I do agree. I mean, it is. I'm sure the players are used to looking up at the chains to see where the yard marker is. Like, I still think they need that, right?
Yeah.
To let you know what down it is and where you're trying to get to.
Listen, you are talking to a technology snob here.
No kidding.
I am open to any and all forms of technology that may benefit the sport. I'm a little skeptical with this one, but I am intrigued to see how it ultimately gets applied and executed.
It will work. There'll be some bugs during the preseason. And they'll have it down pat. All right, let's talk about those letter grades from the NFLPA.
Bumps in the preseason, Baskin.
Well,
that's what I want to see.
Listen, you don't have the Greenbrier to blame anymore. We've already established that. Letter grades from the NFLPA, Daryl, were they fair for the Browns?
Yeah, not great. Browns ranked 30th out of 32 teams. We'll go step by step, but just in the general overview, a couple of things that were pointed out. The locker room remains the number one problematic issue for players. 7 in 10 players reporting it's too small, ranking 31st out of 32.
7 of 10 Browns said it was too small.
Yeah. And
so only 10 guys voted?
No, this is just on average. That's the average. Okay. When players responded to the survey, they felt the training room was understaffed, but after the survey was completed by players, 2 additional hires improved the situation. I guess that's not great if there's a problem with staffing and then the Browns on the back end in the middle of the season have to hire people to fix that. That's not great.
How do we know someone wasn't out? Now, stop. Now, wait a second. Someone could have been out on maternity leave. Somebody could have been sick. Somebody could have been ill. They may have been short. Do you know how hard it is to get good healthcare workers in the United States these days? It's not easy. Pandemic ruined a lot of lives.
Yeah, I'm aware, Andy. The pandemic ruined my life too. So
see,
in addition to the issues with the locker room,
man, you're going full robot on me right now.
Well, I'm trying to read this thing while you're
okay, Mr. Roboto. Go,
players expressed concern about poor time management, a lack of culture, accountability, and standards within the organization.
Ooh,
and we're going to get into that as we go through the actual grades. Treatment of families, the Browns were given a D+, 28.
Yeah, I saw that. So, so do you have a theory? I have a theory.
I think it's just because there's not enough room in that stadium for family gathering areas.
I think that that's the players complaining that they want more tickets to the games. And I think that probably all the players, like a few players probably have suites that they pay for. And the other players who don't have suites want suites for their significant others. And their significant others are probably saying, well, why is so-and-so have a suite and we don't have a suite?
Yeah. Well,
right? That's where that comes into play.
There may be some additional ticket availability this year because a lot of Brown season ticket holders are pretty upset. So
okay, then
the
families can have their own section. It'll be great. It'll be just like a baseball game. Derek Jeter's wife will be there.
This grade shocked me.
Don't you remember that skit from SNL?
Don't
make me explain it. Keep going.
I'm good. So for food and dining area, they gave him a C-. They've got an outstanding chef.
Daryl, am I wrong? Hang on a second. Didn't they move part of the dining area into the field house?
Well, no, it's an add-on, like it's by the field house, but it's they got a beautiful dining room and buffet and all that kind of stuff. That's like I said, I'm surprised by this because they've got an outstanding chef on staff that cooks for them.
Wow. No soup for you tomorrow when you show up for work, man.
Yeah,
I hope no one's rehabbing.
Yeah, they ranked 26 out of 32 teams. They said taste of the food was 6.57 out of 10. Freshness, 7.42 out of 10. Dining area, 7.15 out of 10. I don't know. Like I said.
Can I be honest with you, Daryl?
Yeah.
You want to talk about first world problems?
I know.
That this doesn't bode well for the players to be talking about this.
I just put it this way. I would love to work somewhere that provided me 3 squares a day for free.
There are a lot of companies that still do that.
Nutritionist and dietitian, they gave a B-. 82% of players report they get an individualized nutrition plan. Actually, every player gets a nutritionalized plan. The players feel the team dietitian is moderately accessible, ranking 26 out of 32.
Is that part of their hospital deal, or is that part of it? Is that
no? They have an in-house dietitian, and I'm just gonna keep my observations to myself there.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious. I didn't know if all those things that fall under the hospitalization kind of thing.
Yeah, the locker room, F-. 39% of players feel they have enough room in the individual lockers. 32 out of 32 teams ranking. 29% of players feel the locker room size is adequate, ranking the Browns 31 out of 32. Listen, here's what I'll say about that. They've poured a ton of money into facilities. They gutted the old locker room a few years ago. They rebuilt they expanded the locker room. They redid all the shower spaces, made them more private. They redid the bathroom facilities for players as well.
Right.
Look, they only have so much space in that particular part of the building for the locker room. I'll say I get why they feel like it's cramped because when we're in there doing our jobs, it's cramped. It's annoying at times. So
here's my philosophy on this one. I mean, if you've looked and just hop online and Google, look at some of the top college locker rooms across the country. And the NFL, it just needs that's what they're being compared to today. Like I'm telling you, I was watching, I don't know if it was Notre Dame or Boston College hockey locker room the other day. I was taking a tour of that, and I was like, oh my God, that's nicer than any professional sports team locker room that I've been in. I mean, it's these locker rooms at and Michigan's hockey locker room is amazing too. And I'm like looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, wow. And so when these players come from the SEC or the Big Ten or some major school or ACC, and they've got their own like bed inside their locker at some of these facilities, and of course the NFL is going to feel like a downgrade, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go to the training room here because that's even worse. That's a D+, 31st out of 32 teams.
Didn't they just rebuild all this stuff?
I know. 79% of players felt they had enough full-time trainers. 68% felt they had enough full-time physical therapists. 50% of players felt they had enough hot tub space. 71% of players felt they had enough cold tub space. And then that goes back to the early thing. Players reported the training room was understaffed. Since the players responded to the survey, the Browns hired 2 additional staff members. So, but that's still training staff got a C-, dead last in the NFL.
Wow.
69% of Browns players report they receive enough one-on-one training treatment. Players feel the training staff slightly contributes to their overall success. So not good marks there. Now we get into some good marks, though.
Wait, can we do? So this is all like clubhouse stuff, right? And they just went through a clubhouse change too, right? They had, I mean, Brad Mellon was like one of the best in the NFL, and he retired.
No, that's equipment staff. That's not training.
Oh, that's just equipment stuff. Okay, all right.
That's different.
Was the equipment staff rated too?
No.
Okay.
Weight room that got an A, as it should, because the thing
it's
is
brand new.
Yeah. Players reported the weight room equipment is high quality. It is. I've seen it. It's incredible, the stuff that they can do, the body scans, and
right.
Like the equipment will freeze on a player if he's doing his exercises incorrectly to prevent an injury.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, and
awesome.
And it freezes in a safe position as well. Like,
wow.
It's incredible tech. Players feel they have more than enough room to train in the weight room, which is true. That weight room is just massive. Strength coaches got a B+. That's the second highest grade that they got. 96% of players report they got an individualized training plan from their strength coaching staff. Players feel their strength coaches moderately contribute to their overall success. So,
what about their failures? What about not winning games?
Team travel, 60% of players, team travel was a D, 60%.
Yeah, I think that's totally about the Greenbrier.
Yeah, I think so too. 60% of players believe they have comfortable amount of personal space on team flights. Players feel their team's travel schedule is not very efficient. So, okay, that's interesting. Which is weird because, like, when they went to Denver, they went out a day early and stuff. And I don't know. Okay.
What is the official? Like, I don't understand some of the stuff.
I don't get either. I don't understand that. Are you ready for the Kevin Stefanski and Haslam Sports?
Yeah, let's say goodbye with these two because these are I'm perplexed.
Not many people like their boss. Let's throw that out there, right?
I don't know. The rest of the AFC North seems to like theirs.
Yeah. So here we go. Kevin Stefanski got a C, 30th out of 32 teams. The two lower grades behind him, both those coaches were fired this offseason. 67% of Browns players feel their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, is efficient with their time. Players feel that Stefanski's moderately receptive to locker room feedback on the team's needs. And this grade doesn't surprise me because those are things that I've talked about on the air. I've been talking about culture. I've been talking about accountability and things like that on the air and the frustrations within the locker room about that. So that grade doesn't surprise me. Stefanski didn't exactly grade out that well last year either. But I also feel like some of this is a residue of a 3-14 season and guys just being pissed off.
And this was all before Miles made his demands too, right? They all voted on this before that?
Yeah. I thought I thought Zach Jackson had a great post on X where he's like, well, Myles Garrett gave his report card in December and February, and now we just have graphs to prove it.
He's right.
Ownership got a C+, which actually that's not bad.
Was not the worst in the AFC North. Steelers, the Rooneys.
I know, which is surprising because you think it'd be the Browns in Cincinnati. But 22nd out of 32 teams, the Haslam Sports Group ranked. They specifically mentioned Jimmy Haslam, but I want to be fair to Jimmy Haslam. Like it's the Haslam Sports Group, which is the Haslam family, basically.
And there's other people.
Yeah, there's other people, but there's four principals. It's Jimmy and Dee Haslam. It's JW and Whitney Johnson. But the average rating for perceived willingness to invest in the facilities is 7.98 out of 10 from the Browns players. That should be higher because they, like I said, they spent a buttload of money.
And they're going to spend more money.
And the other thing too, Andy, they paid premium dollar for that expansion project because it was a 24/7 work crew. They started construction on that like in March, and it opened for business when they got back from the Greenbrier. And you're talking like they raised steel, and it was a pretty big to do that they did. So I think that he should get the ownership should get 10 out of 10 for facility.
The only question I have about that whole facility though is just the resistance to have a full indoor field. Like I know,
but that you and I have
why? Like I don't understand why. Why not?
Probably because it costs like $25 million now to do.
Just to add that much on there?
Yeah. Well, or to build new. You might.
I guess if you're going to do it, you might as well build it new.
You might have to build, take down and build new.
But now they've got all the land on the other side. Like, why wouldn't they? You know what makes sense? When you
that
look at the
render, spoken for, Baskin.
What?
The land is all spoken for.
So why not?
They've submitted the blueprints to the city of Berea. They're trying to get rubber stamps so they can start construction in the spring. The land is spoken for.
Okay, ready for this one? Because I saw this the other day. I don't know if you know this, but Arrowhead and Kaufman originally had a train track that had a roof that would fly over both sides. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, it was the plan. It never got built.
Oh, that was a great idea. So in the new facility that they're building across the street, right? There's going to be a football field across the street, right? That's going to be surrounded by seating on the outside of it. Am I incorrect?
Yeah.
So why not just dome that thing? Just put a roof over it.
Probably
put a bubble roof over it.
Because that'll cost another $100 million to do.
I mean, if Cleveland State can do it, why can't they?
Okay. Well,
that's what I'm saying.
Next time I see
Cleveland
Jimmy,
State's dropping programs, but yet they have a bubble downtown or had a bubble downtown.
I'll mention that to Jimmy next time I see him.
Andy was asking about the bubble Cleveland State had. That might be available. They might be able to get it.
Two comments from the players regarding ownership that kind of stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
The players believe that ownership slightly contributes to a positive team culture, and the players feel that ownership is somewhat committed to building a competitive team. So that's
I don't. Let's be honest. If they had a quarterback,
$300 million though, how's that not? If
they had a quarterback, none of this complaining would be going on, and they'd be winning, and that'd be the whole thing. Go get a quarterback and fix all your problems. That's it. Yeah, the food will taste better if they bring in a better quarterback. He's Daryl. I'm Andy. We're going to come back. We'll be back next week. Right, Daryl?
Yes. And fingers crossed, we have a special podcast coming your way next week that everybody is going to want to listen to. That's all I'm going to say right now. It's all I'm going to say. But I have lined something up that I think everyone is going to be interested in.
All right.
Including you.
I'm excited. I have inside information, but I am excited. Thank you. I'm good with that. Evan O'Brien, you're the greatest. Thanks for listening to this edition of It's Always Game Day on Cleveland, brought to you by our good friends at Odyssey and Odyssey.com. And we love the fact that you're watching on YouTube as well. Thank you. See you later, Cleveland. See you.